live stream event for South Asian Heritage Month. It's been amazing to be able to host these events over the last month and talk about the importance of South Asian Heritage Month. And we thought it'd be really nice for everyone to kind of meet the team behind the scenes and hear why it's been important for members of our team to get involved and do something for South Asian Heritage Month and what it has meant for them. So just kind of as a recap of what South Asian Heritage Month is and why we're celebrating it. So it has run from 18th of July and it will end on the 17th of August. So it runs until next week. And it seeks to raise the profile of British South Asian heritage and history in the UK with the goal of helping people to better understand the diversity of present day Britain. And we know that South Asian influences can be found everywhere in Britain. So that goes from food, music, clothes, and in pharmacy as well. So we've got, according to our last GPHC EDI data from 2019, there's 12% of the pharmacy techs are from a South Asian background and 37% of pharmacists are from a South Asian background too. So we are a very diverse profession. And so we wanted to celebrate this month to kind of highlight the contributions that South Asian heritage communities have made across pharmacy and the different roles that they do and the influences that we've had in taking these roles. And we've worked together across pharmacy for the different organisations to put this together. So we've worked with Pharmacy Technicians of Colour, Aptuk, Boots, Mahendra, who'd have seen do your one a day for the whole month, as well as the RPS and so it's been really nice. And also we've not been able to have Pam, Mahendra and Shama as part of this call as well. So, but they've been part of this group as well to make this happen. So I've been introduced, I've got another panel here that I'd like to introduce again as part of this conversation. So I've got Janaki, who is a co-founder of Pharmacy Technicians of Colour, along with Sam, who's also a co-founder of Pharmacy Technicians of Colour. And we've got Sachin, who is a senior commercial manager at Boots. So welcome, everybody. So I'll get started on the questions because it would be great to hear from yourselves about what motivated you to be part of this conversation. So just it would be also part of that to hear a little bit about yourselves, about your experiences with South Asian backgrounds growing up and working in pharmacy, and how these cultural backgrounds have influenced you or the approaches that you've taken. So Janaki, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Aman. So I'm Janaki Chitsabesan, one of the co-founders of Pharmacy Technicians of Colour. I'm currently working as a Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Manager for NHS CNI. So I am from a Sri Lankan heritage. My parents are Sri Lankan, both of them are Sri Lankan. They've both been here for over about 30 years now, but I was born here. So I guess for me, I am at a stage now where I fully kind of starting to embrace my identity and my culture. You know, we eat Sri Lankan food in the house. My parents, I'm not very good at speaking Tamil, but my parents speak Tamil to me. But for me, it was important because I feel like, as you said the numbers at the start, you know, there are a lot of South Asian people working within pharmacy. And, you know, this is the second year that South Asian Heritage Month has run. And I feel like now it's like the prime opportunity to talk about different cultures within the pharmacy profession. I truly do believe that if we start embracing each other's identities and cultures, the outcome will be better for the profession and for patients as well. Yeah, so for me, it was just something really exciting to be a part of. I've loved, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I've loved seeing what's been going on over the course of the month so far. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And can I just ask, what motivated you to co-found Pharmacy Technicians of Colour as well?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, when the pandemic hit, so the murder of George Floyd was definitely one thing, and then with COVID disproportionately affecting BAME communities. So I would say it was quite reactive at the time, but that's also speaking to the other co-founders. There's 3 of us. 4 of us in total, but Sam's one as well. So speaking to the other co-founders, we didn't really feel like there was a space where we could have, you know, these discussions. It was quite, I would say it was quite a traumatic time, if I'm honest. You know, I remember being on some calls and hearing some of the stats, and I'd be bursting into tears. It's really difficult to talk about, and I think you definitely need a forum where you can be open and have these conversations. And then from that, we wanted to be able to raise awareness within the profession and educate, and how do we handle certain situations or microaggressions, things like that. So it was all about raising awareness as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Sam, and how about you? What's your experience being of South Asian heritage in your work and also personally?
Okay, so I wanted to get involved with South Asian Heritage Month because I wanted to learn a whole lot more about it. So when I first heard about the month, and I was thinking, how come it's not just the whole of August or the whole of July? And I have learned so much more now about partition. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to kind of educate myself a little bit more, and also to celebrate the richness that we have in terms of diversity across the profession. So I've got loads and loads of colleagues within my organisation where I work in my day job and across the profession who come from South Asian heritage. And again, it's not one homogenous group, so it's learning about different cultural heritage, different countries, whether people are first or second generation. I mean, I'm loving all the food that we've been experiencing as well. That's been one of my favourite bits. But really just to kind of educate myself a bit more so that I can understand other people's perspectives and try and help people where they feel they need support. So that comes back to the whole allyship discussions that we've had before about advocating for people when they're not in the room, and also being somebody who can speak up on behalf of other people if they don't feel able to. So as Janaki was alluding to before, there have been some really difficult discussions, and it shouldn't always be for people from a particular background to have to speak up and speak about that issue just because people kind of turn to them to look for their lived experience. So I can't speak to that. I don't have that heritage, but if I am learning from other people, then I can kind of say, hang on, this might be something that you need to think about because I've kind of widened my horizons. So I guess from a professional perspective, it's again about what Janaki was saying. Ultimately, we're all in pharmacy because we want to help patients, and the way that we do that is by making sure that we are looking after each other and making sure that our profession is equal, diverse and inclusive, because that translates into direct patient care and safety. So from that perspective, it's a no-brainer. But really, for me, South Asian Heritage Month was about a celebration, and a celebration of people within who come from South Asian heritage, and particularly within pharmacy, from my point of view, because there are so many people who've got so much talent and so much to share that we don't normally hear about. So we might hear about the professional aspects of their life, but not what shaped them as people. So that for me has been a real highlight.
Brilliant, thanks, Sam. And that element of representation is so important, and making sure that voice is across the room. So if people from that background aren't there, at least there's an understanding from someone else, that allyship piece. Sachin, how about yourself?
Hi, yeah, so I'm Sachin. I'm a second generation British Indian. I'm a pharmacist, and I've worked for Boots for over 20 years now in a number of roles as a pharmacist, store and field management roles, and currently as a senior commercial manager. And I'm also part of the leadership team for the Boots BAME Business Resource Group. So for me, I was born and brought up in Maidenhead, which is a conservative town next to Windsor. There were only 3 Indian families initially living there, and I was related to 2 of them. So I've had positive and negative experiences growing up in Britain and working in pharmacy. Where people have wanted to engage and learn more about each other. This has helped to create an inclusive community. However, some people do not feel, they're not there. They're not on that part of the journey yet, and they may be fearful of the unknown, may possibly feel threatened. But working in a diverse community such as Slough, I actually experienced one of my worst moments in my career, and that was shortly after I qualified. I had a white elderly gentleman approach me needing medical advice. Didn't want to, his words were, "I do not want to speak to the likes of you," and asked to speak to the other pharmacist, who was a white gentleman. And I worked hard to become a pharmacist. My family sacrificed so much for me to get there, but at that point, I totally felt worthless, and that was right at the start of my career. It's not stopped me being a pharmacist, and it's not stopped me wanting to excel and move forward in my career. But what it has taught me is that we're on a journey, and we need to share more about our culture, make people more comfortable with the people that are around them, the people that are going to serve them and help them within the community, because that's how you build trust. People knowing more, encouraging them to really, really get involved. That's how you see the benefits of inclusion. My family had a small business in Maidenhead, and they treated every member of staff as family, and you could see that, and you could see the hard work and determination of my family and the way they supported their extended family. I saw, the benefits of inclusion from a young age, and along with the strong work ethic that we see from a South Asian background, it's helped me shape how I react within my pharmacy roles and how I am with the people I work. So it's yeah, I just South Asian Heritage Month for me has been fantastic because it's really put the spotlight on our community, but also the great stuff we've done so far within the individual communities that we live in and Britain as a whole.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And I know from myself, as much as I'm in the South Asian community, I've learned about the diversity, even just the number of countries that come under the South Asian umbrella. I've learned a lot as well, because sometimes you can just think about your own community and your own experience. So, that's been amazing, because I learned that Afghanistan is part of the South Asian community countries. And, so for me, that's been great. And also being in it, like, as much as we've helped organize this, it's been nice to hearing back your experience that you kind of take for granted. Being from Leicester, I've been in a very large South Asian community my whole like from when I was an undergraduate, and then moved to Salisbury, which was the complete opposite. So, and you don't think about things, you just take them for granted. So that was so that difference and contrast has been really great as well to see and to hear from different, and also the different generations that are coming up as well, and the importance of role modeling and visibility as part of that. So my next question to everyone is, I think we've kind of touched on it, but we could definitely elaborate, is why is South Asian Heritage Month important to you, and what's motivated you to help celebrate this month? Sam, I'll start with you.
I feel like that's kind of what I covered in my first answer, so apologies. I think, so for me, it is about us thinking about the next generation as well. So having people who look like you is actually really important for people to be able to aspire. So people who look like you in leadership roles. So I am coming from a position of privilege where I see lots of white people in board member roles or very senior positions within pharmacy. You only have to look around at most organisations, and that's the case. Whereas that's not the case for many people of South Asian heritage or other heritages. And I think that's something that needs to change, because, as we've already said, there's lots of people, that the profession is quite diverse, but the percentages, or however you want to divvy up kind of the representation isn't necessarily there. And I think what was really powerful for me is listening to some MPharm students when they had seen people who were of the same heritage as them and see what can be achieved, and were like, wow, I didn't know that, like, one day that I could actually do that, just because they'd seen somebody who looked like them. And that was really powerful, and made me kind of stop in my tracks and think, okay, this is something that we really need to think about, and we need to do something about. And that comes at all different levels. So I can do something on a personal level, but we also then need to affect policy and systemic changes as well, so that we've got that leadership from top to bottom, and it's as diverse as possible, so that everybody feels that sense of belonging.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Sam. Janaki?
Sorry. So I think I did cover as well. Sorry, I did cover some of the answer in my first question. But I think, again, it is what Sam is saying. It's kind of that you have to see it to believe it. And so being Sri Lankan and being a pharmacy technician, I can count the number of Sri Lankan pharmacy technicians that I've met throughout my career. I mean, I am in the London bubble, but I've worked in pharmacy since 2008. And honestly, I can count it on one hand. So for me, it is all about, and what I said as well before about, embracing my identity, and, having those conversations and raising awareness. If I can put something in somebody else that makes them feel comfortable enough to talk about it and say, oh, she's Sri Lankan, she's a technician and she's doing this, then that for me is job done. Because I think definitely you know, when I was younger, when I first started in pharmacy, I didn't see that. And to be honest, like, even where I am now, I couldn't have never have imagined getting to where I was. You know, there definitely was that ceiling. So just helping to kind of break down barriers. So yeah, I think that's
Brilliant,
thank you.
thanks. And Sachin?
So yeah, South Asian Heritage Month has given us really an opportunity to show what it means to be South Asian in the 21st century, as well as look to the past to see how, you know, Britain's become the diverse country it is today. But really, it's about, you know, reclaiming our history and our identity of British South Asians. You know, we've influenced what's happened across cities and towns across the UK, and it's all become a part of British life now. You know, what's really motivated me though is to help celebrate this month is knowing that our stories really matter, and that we should be proud of who we are and where we've come from and what values we have brought, and how we've then integrated into communities across the country, and the impacts that we've actually made. And you know, we're within pharmacy, we South Asians make up a large proportion of the working population within pharmacies, and we are therefore able to reflect that in the communities that we're actually serving, which then, as Sam alluded to earlier, you know, that's great for our patients and that's great for safety. So for me, it's been fantastic. I can't believe it's only been around for 2 years, but I see this being something that's going to get bigger and better every year.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're definitely going to carry on doing it next year as well. And it's been really nice to be proud to be South Asian, and have the opportunity to kind of like you know, be able to kind of express that as well across the month. And so that's been really positive. So what's been the highlight for you across this month? So Sachin, I'll come back to you with this one.
So you know, I have a few. Personally, it's been a privilege for me when I was asked to join the RPS Senior Female Leaders Panel that happened a couple of weeks ago as an ally. I think Sam mentioned it earlier, but it's important for the next generation. And you know, for me, I've got a young daughter. She's only 2 years old at the moment, and for me, when she grows up, I want her to see women that look like her in senior leadership roles, whatever the field or industry that she's going to aspire to pursue later on in life. But other highlights have been the mainstream media raising the profile of South Asian Heritage Month. That's allowed more. I feel it's allowed more people to feel more comfortable to share their lived experiences, and it's encouraged people to want to learn more about South Asian heritage. You know, I've had a Teams background on for all my calls, and it's bright, it's colourful, and people look at it and go, "Oh, tell me about that. I want to know more about that. How can I get involved?" And that's been great because we've done that at Boots, and it's encouraging more and more people to have conversations, and it's been fantastic, the engagement. And yeah, we can't wait to go. For me, I can't wait to get back in the office because loads of people are like, well, we need to try all this South Asian food, and everybody needs to bring it in and just get involved. So it's, you know, it's great because it's allowing conversations to happen. That's what we want. We want people to come in and understand, and then when people understand, they're not frightened anymore. And that allows more conversations to happen. It creates more inclusivity, and that's always beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, that openness, absolutely, you know, to ask. And that's what actually, from my experience at Salisbury, people weren't afraid to ask, but in a really nice way to want to understand, because I was a bit of a novelty, being the first South Asian in the whole pharmacy department. So that was, as long as it's meaning, like people mean well, that's the key thing. And I have to say, I do miss people bringing samosas in the office. That's one of the negatives of working from home. Janaki, how about yourself?
So for me, I agree with Sachin. Definitely, you know, outside of pharmacy, what's been going on Twitter. But within the work that we've all been doing together, I've absolutely loved the virtual cards, the daily virtual cards, and seeing the range of roles and how the South Asian community are contributing within pharmacy. I also really enjoyed so one of our co-founders, Parampreet, did the live tweet chat for South Asian Heritage Month. I think it was last week, and that was brilliant because people were being vulnerable, opening up. You know, man, I know you shared a picture of your mum and dad, which is so nice to see. I feel like it's just that human element to it as well, and I think sometimes within the profession we do have to be quite regimented and prescriptive, so to speak. So I think it was just nice for people to open up and have these conversations and share a little bit about themselves. So they were definitely my highlights.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, my mum and dad don't know their pictures all over Twitter. They'd hate me if they knew. Sam?
I'm so sorry, I stepped out because we had a fire alarm, so I just missed the question.
Oh, sorry, the question was, what's been a highlight for you across the month?
I think it's been getting to know more people and kind of seeing more and more people come out and celebrate their heritage and feel proud of it. And I think it's just so uplifting to see people say, this is where I'm from, this is what shapes me, and I'm really proud of that. And I think that's something that we should all be able to celebrate.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I know one of my key highlights, I suppose, was the chat about intersectionality across the profession. It really highlighted to me the diversity that we have and actually the impact that it will have on the profession for us to have the conversation within our own communities, and also secondly how we're interacting with patients and staff. So that was a real eye-opener for that conversation. And yes, learning about everybody has been really nice. The Twitter chat, we should do that more often. It was really good. So my final question to everyone is, moving forward, how do we always ensure that we're recognizing and celebrating that diversity within the South Asian heritage umbrella itself? So one of the things that we've had back in doing our one a day across the month is actually, we need more representation from, say, Bangladeshi communities or Pakistani communities. So how do we make sure that we're always considerate of the diversity that's within that umbrella? So Sachin, I'll start off with you on this one.
Yeah, so John, I don't think that we should wait for South Asian Heritage Month to come around to do this. It shouldn't just be being proud and happy when we're not running a campaign. We should be recognizing and celebrating the diversity of our cultures all the time, and that's giving people an opportunity to get involved in say, for example, celebrations such as Diwali and Eid. We all know how food's a great way of engaging with people, and it allows so many conversations to be had. And the more people are educated, the more integrated and inclusive we become as a society. I think key thing really driving forward and getting the momentum is, and the point you made about the Bangladeshi and other communities getting more involved, is creating that safe space where they feel comfortable that they can come along and engage, and that's how I feel. I've got involved with more and more stuff because I feel now that I've got my voice back. I feel that people are listening, people are engaging, and the more and more people share and become comfortable, we're going to allow that to happen. So, for me, I'd want South Asian Heritage Month to happen every day of the week.
Brilliant, thanks, Sachin. Sam?
I think I would echo that. I would also say, so that's kind of like a future thing. I think I would make a plea to the RPS and big organisations like Boots to use the money that you have to preserve some of this so that future generations can build on it. So we've got the RPS Museum, but I think it's quite difficult to get anything other than white scientists' history out of it. So there are so many opportunities now for us to preserve this in history. And so this was the inaugural South Asian Heritage Month pharmacy celebration. What are we going to do about that? And it doesn't have to be a traditional thing. And likewise with Boots headquarters, have got lovely different artifacts, etc., celebrating the people who first dispensed penicillin, or all of that kind of stuff. What are we doing now to celebrate the advances in science, genomics, all the people that are who are from South Asian heritage and other heritage, to kind of preserve the history going forward so that we can look back and celebrate those things and build on them? So I guess that would be my plea.
Brilliant. That's a really good idea, Sam. And also anyone listening, if there's anything, because we're always looking for history for our RPS museum. So if you wanted to send anything across, then please do, because we're always looking to build that archive. Janaki?
Thanks. So I completely agree with both Sachin and Sam. I think we definitely need to use the opportunities such as, religious days, holy days. What I would say is, on a personal level, I think so historically, I think if you're in the South Asian community, we do know that there are issues, historically there have been issues between certain religions, or, we have colorism as an issue. So I think on a personal level, on top of, you know, trying to celebrate, you know, Eid and Diwali and have the conversations, we need to ask ourselves as well, like, what biases do we have? Where have they come from? How can we break them down? Because I do think a lot of this work involves, you know, self-growth as well. So for me, I think it's about that, and then supporting and lifting and promoting one another across the whole community.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Janaki. That's a really important point, that even amongst the community, we need to be more open and inclusive of each other, as well as expecting the wider community to do that as well. And that's something we all need to work on. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's been part of this, and thank you for your contributions to this panel. And so I really do look forward to celebrating South Asian Heritage Month every day. Absolutely, I think that's something we should do. And I just wanted to take this moment to also thank, so like I've already mentioned, Mahendra, Parampreet and Shama, who are not been able to join our call today, but they've also been really key in making this happen as part of the conversation and celebrations across the month. So and if everyone who's listening has enjoyed this, so you can listen back to the other sessions that we've run across the month. So the first one was looking at the South Asian heritage, South Asian community contributions to pharmacy. The second one was looking at South Asian women in pharmacy, and then the third one was considering intersectionality. And then we've moved our quiz night now onto social. So rather than having it tomorrow evening, we're going to be having it across our social media channels throughout the day tomorrow. So look out for those questions, and the hashtag is South Asian Heritage Month Farm, and so please do get involved in those as well. But I just want to say a final thank you to everybody, and we'll hopefully carry on this conversation beyond this and within your teams as well. And I suppose another plug is, as part of that, to that commitment to each other, is maybe think about signing the pledge, you know, that commitment of having those open conversations and openly learning about each other. That is a good place to start as well. So yeah, just a final thank you to everybody, and have a good afternoon.